Live now? Ladies and gentlemen, our audio feed is now live to the public.
It's not live to the public. They said they're not doing live.
Oh. So they will post it. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, just so that we have an understanding of what the technical aspects are right now, it is recorded but not live. It will be then posted for everyone to be able to obviously then hear at a later date at their pleasure, correct? Oh, and we are live on the website. So if they're tuned into the website right now, then they will be able to follow us and then also have it where they can look at it and search it and play it back later. And just like those House members, same thing in the Senate, the microphones, all of them are currently live. Ready now.
Joint Finance Committee will please come to order. Members, take your seats. Do we need to close the back doors? Leave the back doors open then. That'll be all right. Nobody out there, I think. We need to have a roll call. Lonnie, can you call the roll?
Representative Bolden? Present. Representative Bolden present. Representative Briggs King? Present. Representative Briggs King present. Representative Carson? Present. Representative Carson present. Senator Ennis? Yes. Senator Ennis is present. Representative Hensley?
Present.
Representative Hensley's present. Representative Jakes?
Present.
Representative Jakes present. Senator Lawson?
Present.
Senator Lawson's present. Senator Pardee? Here. Senator Pardee is present. Senator Richardson? Present. Senator Richardson's present. Senator Sturgeon? Here. Senator Sturgeon present. Representative Johnson?
Present.
Representative Johnson present. Senator McDowell?
Here.
Senator McDowell's present. All present.
All right. Thank you very much, Lonnie. We are now in order. And I think, Jason, are you off?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before the members of this committee, you have Senate Bill 241, which is the draft version of the grant aid bill. What you see before you generally leaves organizations at flat funding from fiscal year FY20. Just looking at the first page, it's on. You can't hear me?
I can't hear you.
I'll try to talk louder. I guess maybe I gotta get closer to it.
Got to be close.
Well, this will be fun. So section 1 here on the first page appropriates funding for the county seat package, the Delaware Adolescent Program, and the paramedic program operations. On page 2, funding is appropriated for senior centers throughout Newcastle, Kent, Sussex, and the city of Wilmington. And page 3, at the top of page 3, appropriates funding to the Department of Safety and Homeland Security for law enforcement grants, for local law enforcement grants. That brings the total for the section 1s, which includes government units and senior centers, to $26,692,375. Mr. Chairman, that is the conclusion of section 1. Would you like me to?
Mr. Co-Chair?
I'd like to make. No, go ahead. We need to take a motion. Yep, keep going.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Jason.
So as we continue here on page 3 under section 2, this appropriates fundings for one-times and for aging and other categories. One thing I would like to point out under the one-time here, if you look at lines 28, you see where Mount Joy Senior Center has been crossed off. What that was is they were a late funding applicant last year, and they applied, I believe it was around in March. We decided the committee decided rather, that they would appropriate a one-time funding for them and then would include them into the senior center formula for next year. Unfortunately, that when we did that, they do not actually qualify for senior center funding formula. So they are not in that category, but we have added them in the aging category, which they are added in the aging category. on page 4, line 5. So that would be the Mount Joy Senior Center, but they are operating under the South Wilmington Senior Adult Program. And that funding line is for $40,000. That is probably the most notable change from last year as far as an increase in an amount, because it was a rather unique situation.
Excuse me, Jason, page 4, what line?
It was page 4, line 5. So that was for the one-time item for Mount Joy Senior Center that was formerly listed on page 3, which has been removed. So that brings our total one-times to $1.2 million. As we look at the aging category on the bottom of page 3 and the top of page 4, one thing that you may notice is that there are a number of cheer services that are scratched out or, stricken through. What we have done here is consolidated all of the cheer requests into one line, which you'll see there on line 39. So there is no elimination or change in funding to cheer senior services. We are just, for administrative purposes, putting that all in one line. So like the items there that you see on line, say 37, 43, 44, etc., they have all been consolidated into that group. So for the aging category, that brings our total for the aging category, if we look on page 4, line 10, to $819,160. The next category that we have here is the Arts, Historical, Cultural, Tourism category, where there are a number of organizations. The strike-throughs that you see are organizations that did not apply from last year, and that all the other organizations that are here, funding does remain the same. Our total for that category is found on page 5, line 26, is $2,079,968. Mr. Chairman, would you like me to continue?
Let's see if we can get an issue before us. Co-chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the sections of the grant and aid budget that have been presented by Jason that run through page 1 to page 5, line 26, as written and presented. End of motion.
Second. And let me just say, that is, Mr. Co-Chair, that is $2,079,968. Is that correct?
For the arts, historical, cultural, and tourism, and then $819,160 for aging. And for government units and senior centers, $26,692,375. And then, of course, the overall portions for services for aging and adults, $8 million. That was already in the total of the 26. My apologies.
Okay. We have a motion before, so I have a second. Second. I have a motion moved and seconded. A question on the motion? Seeing none, Lonnie, can you call the roll?
Representative Bolden?
I was going to say present. Yes.
Representative Bolden, yes. Representative Briggs King? Representative Briggs King, yes. Representative Carson?
Yes.
Representative Carson, yes. Senator Ennis?
Yes.
Senator Ennis, yes. Representative Hensley?
Yes.
Representative Hensley, yes. Representative Jakes?
Yes.
Representative Jakes, yes. Senator Lawson?
Yes.
Senator Lawson, yes. Senator Pardee?
Yes.
Senator Pardee, yes. Senator Richardson? Senator Richardson, yes. Senator Sturgeon?
Yes.
Senator Sturgeon, yes. Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative Johnson, yes. Senator McDowell?
Yes.
Senator McDowell, yes. 12 yes.
That motion, having received sufficient number of votes, declared passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we continue on page 5, looking at the disabled health and labor category, again, there are no funding organization or funding changes significant in this category. You may notice that there are some changes to the names that are in some of these agencies. This is just an attempt to update the names as we receive them and as how they are more commonly known today. As we turn to page 6, you may notice that there are 3 strike-through lines on lines 26, 27, and 28. Again, these are consolidated into line 25 above. That brings our total disabled health and labor category appropriation to be the same as last year, as $4,141,680. The next category that starts on page 6 is under Family and Youth Services. Again, there are no significant changes here. Line 40, Breaking Barriers. Breaking Barriers received a one-time appropriation in last year's bill. We have added them back in to their normal category in which they are found, and their funding amount is reflective of what it was prior to their one-time amount. The other dollar amounts that you see here are organizations that did not apply. Line 12, I just want to draw your attention to First State Squash. That is an applicant that was in a previous category, and we've moved them into Family, Youth, and Services. That brings our total for this category to $5,262,068. And then just to finish up on page 7, we have the alcohol and substance abuse category here. One applicant has not reapplied, which was Triad Ministry, and numbered line 55. That brings our total to this category on line 56, $1,178,020. Oh, and I'm sorry, I would like to note one more change. We did remove funding on line 50 of $5,000 for Hope Street, Delaware, and added $5,000 to line 43, which is attack addiction, for a total of $105,000. There is no net change to that category, just the overall dollar amount is staying.
Jason, I apologize. I'm having a great deal of trouble hearing. Or is anybody else having trouble hearing? No, I see.
Close to the mic in here.
Well, it's a short mic, so I can't really sit. I mean, is there a longer one somewhere? Because otherwise I'm going to be in a very uncomfortable position. So, okay.
Could you pick up that last one and repeat it?
Sure, absolutely. So the total category for alcohol and substance abuse is $1,178,020. So that takes us to page 8 for the neighborhood and community services category. There are some changes that you may notice to organization names. Again, this is just updating to reflect how they apply for these programs. There are some organizations who did not apply for funding that you will notice have been removed on lines 21, lines 22, and lines 41. Line 42 was moved to another category. And lines 13 did not apply on page 9. And on page 9 also, you'll see St. Patrick's Center. That was moved from another category as well. Otherwise, the funding amounts here are, again, the same as fiscal year 20. That brings our total appropriation for neighborhood community services to $5,791,503, for a total appropriation for all Section 2s, which are the one-times and community agencies, to be $20,472,399.
Co-chairman, can you get us a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we approve, starting on page 6, the total disabled health and labor, $4,141,680. Moving over to page 7, family and youth services, $5,262,068. As well, alcohol substance abuse, $1,178,020. And then finalizing on page 9, line 35, neighborhood community services, total funding $5,791,503, as presented and written in the motion.
You want to add that?
It's $5,791,503 for neighborhood community services.
And then the total for the one-times and community aid.
Is $20,472,399.
Very good. Second. Moved. I have a motion moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? I have
Over here.
Representative Bolden and then Senator Sturgeon.
My question is on page 5, number 12. New Sweden Center for the Calmer Nichols Museum.
page 5, page and line again, please, Representative.
Page 5, number 12, New Sweden Center, Kalmar Nickel Museum Institute. Was that placed somewhere else, or
They did not apply. They did
they
not.
just never applied?
They did not apply, Representative.
Thank you.
Motion made. Senator Sturgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the alcohol substance abuse section on page 7, it was explained just now that Hope Street didn't get 5,000, but instead that 5,000 was added to attack addiction. But I need to understand, did Hope Street apply for 5,000? And if so, did we violate our own parameters of keeping everyone flat, not cutting, but also not adding?
Senator Sturgeon, my understanding is that the committee members that were assigned to this category made a decision to not fund Hope Street, Delaware, and take that money and reallocate it within their category to attack addiction. Hope Street did apply. However, again, that committee decided to not fund that organization.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I understood that that was indeed the case. So Hope Street is a distinct group. They're not part of attack addiction.
Yes,
but
Senator.
The decision was made to defund them and give more money to attack addiction. Thank you.
Hey, Jason, do you have a little bit more in depth on that? I mean, was there anything out of order about their application?
I believe that there were concerns raised by members of that committee about the organization. I'm not sure how much would be appropriate to comment now.
All right, fine. That's fine. Just want to make sure we touch the bases. All right, we have a motion, I believe, made and seconded. Any further questions on the motion? All those in favor signify. Oh, Lonnie, would you please call the roll?
Representative Bolden?
Yes.
Representative Bolden, yes. Representative Briggs King? Representative Briggs King, yes. Representative Carson?
Yes.
Representative Carson, yes. Senator Ennis?
Yes.
Senator Ennis, yes. Representative Hensley?
Yes.
Representative Hensley, yes. Representative Jakes?
Yes.
Representative Jakes, yes. Senator Lawson?
Yes.
Senator Lawson, yes. Senator Pardee?
Yes.
Senator Pardee, yes. Senator Richardson?
Yes.
Senator Richardson, yes. Senator Sturgeon?
Yes.
Senator Sturgeon, yes. Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative Johnson, yes. Senator McDowell?
Yes.
Senator McDowell, yes. 12 yes.
All right, Jason, you want to do?
Absolutely. Members of the committee, Section 3 appropriates funding for fire companies for various purposes. These amounts, and I'll go through them very quickly as we go through, but these amounts have generally, well, they've all really stayed the same. Section 3A appropriates funding for the maintenance of apparatus and equipment. That would be what you see here on pages 9 and 10. And again, those amounts are all staying the same from last year. On page 11, which is Section 3B, that appropriates funding for the maintenance of operation of ambulances, again in all 3 counties. This amount is the same as last year. Section C, which is on page 12, Section 3C, appropriates funding for the maintenance and operation of rescue trucks in all 3 counties. Again, that is staying the same. There is one notable change here. As a Kent County resident, I can assure you Ellendale is not in Kent County and is in Sussex, so there is a change to move them out of Kent into Sussex, which is the only difference that you'll note in that category. It keeps the funding levels the same. For Section 3B, which is on the middle of page 13, or 3D rather, I'm sorry, which is on the middle of page 13, that appropriates funding for the maintenance of platform trucks and or training. That continues on to page 14 to Section 3E, which appropriates funding for the maintenance and operation of rescue boats. Again, and also let me just back up really quickly here onto the top of page 14. You'll notice that there are 2 additions here for Dagsboro Memorial Volunteer Fire Company in Slaughter Beach. Is because they did add the appropriate equipment, so we have added them to this particular subsection. Again, for Section 3E, which starts in the middle of the page, that appropriates funding for the maintenance and operations of rescue boats. These numbers are staying the same. On page 15, section 3F appropriates funding for the city of Wilmington related to maintenance and operations. The figures that you see here are also staying the same as last year. Section 3G, which just starts a little bit on line 16 on page 15, appropriates funding for the leveling up insurance premium tax revenues for Kent and Sussex County. That takes us to page 16, lines 9, which starts 3H, which is the funding for the insurance rebate equalization, which you'll see here on this page, on page 16, and then the narrative for it on the top of page 17. We did add some additional language there on lines 3 and 4 to address the fact that we are unable to provide the full funding formula amount here for section H1, and is the intent of the General Assembly to revisit that next year. On page 17, line 10, starts section 3I, which appropriates funding for the operation of substations. The amounts that you see here are all the same as last year. Lines 13 and 14, just to note, is because they are different than the other ones, is because there are 2 and 3 substations in those calculations, but they are all $15,458 apiece. And then the last section here in section 3 is J, which starts on line 38, that appropriates funding for the maintenance or for the operation of maintenance of ambulances for Smyrna, Georgetown, and Smyrna, Georgetown, and Millsboro. That brings our total appropriation on line 47 for section 3 for the fire companies to be $6,940,706.
Thank you, Jason. Mr. Co-Chairman, can we get a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Section 3, which pertains to funding to all the fire departments within the state that goes through Section 3A all the way through 3G, going from page 9 to page 17 of the grant and aid bill, totaling $6,940,706 in authorizations. And a motion.
Second. Have a motion made and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, Lonnie, call the roll, please.
Representative Bolden?
Yes.
Representative Bolden, yes. Representative Briggs King? Representative Briggs King, yes. Representative Carson?
Yes.
Representative Carson, yes. Senator Ennis?
Yes.
Senator Ennis, yes. Representative Hensley? Yes. Representative Hensley, yes. Representative Jakes?
Yes.
Representative Jakes, yes. Senator Lawson?
Yes.
Senator Lawson, yes. Senator Pardee? Yes. Senator Pardee, yes. Senator Richardson?
Yes.
Senator Richardson, yes. Senator Sturgeon?
Yes.
Senator Sturgeon, yes. Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative Johnson, yes. Senator McDowell?
Yes.
Senator McDowell, yes. 12 yes.
Let the record reflect that passed unanimously. All right, Jason?
Okay.
Maybe we'll take a short step this time, maybe.
Okay. For section 4 appropriates funding or actually 4A rather, which you see here on the bottom of page 17, appropriates funding for contact services to Delaware veterans of U.S. Armed Forces. As you may notice, there are some slight changes to the names here that you'll see. Again, this is just an update to reflect how these organizations are being named. The amounts that are in this category are also the same. As you turn to page 18, you'll see line 8 there starts section 4B, which appropriates funding for operation expenses to veteran organizations as well. On line 2 on page 18, Military Order of the Purple Heart did not apply, which is why they have been stricken through here. What you're kind of also noticing on 18 is there's kind of some cleanup happening here. There's some strike-throughs on lines 24 or lines 21 through 24 and lines 30 through 37. We are just rewriting this language to what you see below through to lines 39 and 48. This is merely easier for us to have it in Excel in this way. So that is purely the motive of why we're changing here. There is no new language or anything that's changing. It's just a formatting issue. That brings our total appropriation to section 4 for the veterans organizations on line 50 to be $354,318.
Okay, Mr. Co-Chairman, we have a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that we approve Section 4 for veterans organizations as written and submitted to provide authorization of $354,318. And a motion.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none. Lonnie, please call the roll.
Representative Bolden?
Yes.
Representative Bolden, yes. Representative Briggs King? Representative Briggs King, yes. Representative Carson?
Yes.
Representative Carson, yes. Senator Ennis?
Yes.
Senator Ennis, yes. Representative Hensley? Yes. Representative Hensley, yes. Representative Jakes?
Yes.
Representative Jakes, yes. Senator Lawson?
Yes.
Senator Lawson, yes. Senator Pardee? Yes. Senator Pardee, yes. Senator Richardson? Yes. Senator Richardson, yes. Senator Sturgeon?
Yes.
Senator Sturgeon, yes. Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative Johnson, yes. Senator McDowell?
Yes.
Senator McDowell, yes. 12 yes.
All right. Let the record reflect again. That's passed unanimous. Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we turn to page 19, this starts the epilogue section for the Grant and Aid Act. Just to kind of preface the conversation here, there's been an attempt to consolidate and update some of the language that has been found in multiple sections. So what you're noticing here in Section 5, which is the requirements that an agency must be considered for grant and aid, the language that's added on lines 4 and 5 was just found in a different section, so it's nothing new. It's just being rewritten in this area. Line 11 there, the strike-through language that you see, that is actually going to be incorporated in a different section because that is more of a restriction. And then the line updates that you see here on line 18 and 19 are just updating the applications for next year. As we look at Section 6, again, just we were updating for clarity. This section outlines the funding restriction for grant and aid funds. Content-wise, there's nothing new here. This has just been reformatted for clarity so that all the restrictions can be found in one section going forward. Turning the page to page 20, you'll see here Section 7. Section 7 is a new section of epilogue language that sets up a transition period that an agency must not request funds through a fiscal agent, starting for applications that will be accepted for fiscal year 2023. Section 8 allows for the Comptroller General to conduct performance and financial audits of any non-state agency who receives grant and aid funds. It also allows for the Joint Finance Committee co-chairs and the Office of the Comptroller General to be able to conduct random in-depth assessments of agencies that are in Section 2. Section 9 relates to the quarterly payments of grant and aid appropriations by the State Treasurer. It also details circumstances in which a quarterly payment may be withheld. Some additional language has been added for clarification, such as on line 15, adding that the Office of the Comptroller General may also request to withhold a payment. Clarifying language on lines 19 and 20 to reflect the updates made in Section 6, and clarifying on line 22 that the corporation franchise tax goes to the Department of State. Section 10 details the submission of audits with agency applications. It also details how fire companies should submit financial reporting requirements. And this section also exempts recipients of state aid to local law enforcement funding from the requirements of this section. Section 11 states that it is the intent of the JFC to review all applications, giving consideration to all of an agency's revenue sources and how much of its budget is for salary and benefits. On lines 15 and 16, we'd like to update the language here to clarify that all state funding sources are considered instead of the pass-through language. Section 12 refers to the expenditure of funds related to the Senior Center appropriation in Section 1, with some additional language here clarifying the department and the IPU for this section on lines 19 and 20. This section also states that funding is determined with evaluation and advice from the University of Delaware. Section 13 refers to the appropriation for emergency medical services for county paramedic services. Funds are distributed quarterly and audited annually by the state auditor. Section 14 waives appropriations made to emergency medical services and to state aid and local law enforcement from the provisions of Sections 5, 6, 9, and 10. The additional section numbers added on line 7 are due to the updates that were made to the earlier sections. This section also allows state aid and local law enforcement funding to not be reverted for up to 3 years. Section 15 outlines procedures and reporting requirements related to the law enforcement grant funding to the Department of Safety and Homeland Security. The changes here in this section on lines 17 and 18 are intended to reflect updates to who's responsible for the reporting requirement, and the strike-throughs on lines 21 and 22 are no longer necessary as this information is available on the public meeting calendar. Section 16 further details how the law enforcement grants are dispersed with a flat amount to each agency and the remaining allocated by a ratio. Section 17 details the various steps that the state treasurer can take to issue total payments at the first quarter of the fiscal year to one-time recipients and other specific recipients listed, to those who receive $6,000 or less, and to fire companies. The updates that you see to the organization names are intended to have them match how they are listed in Section 2. Section 18 refers to the appropriation made to the Delaware State Fair, $5,000 of which is held for purses on Governor's Day, with the remaining used for prizes for various achievements awarded at the fair. Section 19 does not subject the appropriation for the Delaware Volunteer Fire Service Revolving Loan Fund to reversion. The updates you see here are intended to avoid having to update the dates each fiscal year. Section 20 expresses that funding to the ALS Association Greater Philadelphia chapter is intended to support Delaware residents. The update you see here is just intended to have the names match with how it's listed in Section 2. And in Section 21, that states that out of the City of Wilmington's county seat package appropriation, up to $300,000 is to be used for public safety. Section 22 appropriates specific amounts to the cities of Dover and Georgetown from the county seat package, and specifies that the remaining balance is to be appropriated by formula. And Section 23 details the intent, the funding methodology, and the state appropriation for operational costs associated with each county's paramedic services. The updates here on lines 4 and 5 add the department and the budget unit and remove reference to the specific number to avoid having to update it here annually, as it is already listed in Section 2, or in Section 1 rather. Mr. Chairman, I think that might be a good stopping point for grant and aid related epilogue.
All right, Mr. Co-Chairman.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Sections 5 and each section all the way through Section 23 as it was written and presented in the motion. We have a motion
I
and a
have
second.
a motion and maybe prematurely seconded, but we have a motion and a second before us. Are there any questions on this motion? Representative Bolden.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. On page 19, line 11, no agency shall use grant and aid funds to pay any part of an elected official's salary or benefits. That was, I believe, was a question for, you're saying grant and aid money that's going to an agency can pay the salary of an elected official that works for that agency?
So, Representative, what we've done is we've taken that language from line 11 there, and we've inserted it on lines 27 on the same page. So that would still be a restriction of use, and it is still listed here. Again, we were just kind of removing that and putting it in one place for clarification.
So from 11 to 27. Is it, Representative Bolden? A slight pause.
All right, thank you.
Satisfied, Representative Bolden? Are there any other questions on this motion? On this motion, any questions? I'm seeing none. Lonnie, would you please call the roll?
Representative Bolden?
Yes.
Representative Bolden, yes. Representative Briggs King? Representative Briggs King, yes. Representative Carson?
Yes.
Representative Carson, yes. Senator Ennis?
Yes.
Senator Ennis, yes. Representative Hensley? Yes. Representative Hensley, yes. Representative Jakes?
Yes.
Representative Jakes, yes. Senator Lawson?
Yes.
Senator Lawson, yes. Senator Pardee?
Yes.
Senator Pardee, yes. Senator Richardson? Senator Richardson, yes. Senator Sturgeon?
Yes.
Senator Sturgeon, yes. Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative Johnson, yes. Senator McDowell?
Yes.
Senator McDowell, yes. 12 yes.
Let the record reflect that passed unanimously. Jason, I think we're starting at section 23. Or is it 24?
We'll be on section 24, Mr. Chairman. We're on page 24, lines 19. Section 24 amends the FY21 Annual Appropriations Act by reallocating $40,000 from contractual services to personnel costs for the Division of Research, who needs this technical adjustment to cover salary changes due to the reclassifications of employees. Section 25 amends the Annual Appropriations Act by deleting Section 8, which is pay policy, and replacing it with the Section 8 that is contained here over the next several pages. This section reflects the intent of the Joint Finance Committee to restore steps and the collective bargaining agreements. Seeing that there are no questions, that would take us all the way.
Okay. Mr. Co-Chairman? Can we do
Thank you. I make a motion that we approve Section 24 and Section 25. That is adjusting the payroll section for collective bargaining agreements and steps in the budget in the motion.
Okay. Is there a second on the motion? Second. There's been a motion made and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? Senator Richardson.
Yes, I just want to know where this ends. What page and what line number?
Senator, it ends on page 39, line 3.
Wait a minute. I thought he just did. Oh, that's all section 25. Mr. Co-Chairman.
What this does for everyone here, obviously they understand, but for the public, we had during our normal joint finance budget markup time period, we're working off of pre-June DFAC information, and at that time, funding was not available to be able to produce the funding for the steps and the contractual steps for teachers. Therefore, we had created a trigger at that point in time that stated that if funds became available, that we would obviously institute, and if we were not in session at the time, that it would institute automatically if at the December DFAC meeting that they had come in. Fortunately, the next DFAC meeting actually did provide an uptick in the current year's finances of revenue brought in from estimated taxes that people are paying for their revenue for this calendar year. And therefore, upholding the promise that we made, we have made the decision to go ahead and do what we stated we were going to do by that trigger. I just want to make sure that everyone understands that while the DFAC number for this current fiscal year did go up, the number for the 2021 actual budget remained relatively flat. It did go up just a little bit, but that's still because of the extreme amount of uncertainty that we've been talking about through this process as we move forward. So we were able to uphold our promise, but you're still making sure that we can prepare for any future things that happen during the 2021 actual budget. Thank you.
So, do we have any further questions on the motion? I remind that I believe this motion covers from after section 25 on page 34, 45 through section 25 on page 39, line 3 of page 39. All right?
Correct.
So, okay, any further question on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor, Bonnie, please call the roll.
Representative Bolden?
Yes.
Representative Bolden, yes. Representative Briggs King? Representative Briggs King, yes. Representative Carson?
Yes.
Representative Carson, yes. Senator Ennis?
Yes.
Senator Ennis, yes. Representative Hensley?
Yes.
Representative Hensley, yes. Representative Jakes?
Yes.
Representative Jakes, yes. Senator Lawson?
Yes.
Senator Lawson, yes. Senator Pardee?
Yes.
Senator Pardee, yes. Senator Richardson? Yes. Senator Richardson, yes. Senator Sturgeon?
Yes.
Senator Sturgeon, yes. Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative Johnson, yes. Senator McDowell?
Yes.
Senator McDowell, yes. 12 yes.
Let the record reflect that passed unanimously. Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we just to remind everyone where we're at, we're on page 39, line 4. We're starting at section 26, which amends the Annual Appropriations Act by inserting 4 appropriations that need to be continued on the continuing appropriation list. Section 27 amends section 350B of the Annual Appropriations Act related to the Opportunity Fund. This section should read as it was written in the FY20 bill to maintain the 60-20 ratio for state funding so as not to reduce mental health/reading ratios. Section 28 amends Section 358C of the Annual Appropriations Act, amending the salary table for the Office of Child Care Licensing. And the amendments for that can be found on the top of page 40, or the specific salary changes, I can say. Section 29 starts the transition of moving programming services and funding allocations related to students' reading intervention needs, indicated by Senate Bill 229 from the 147th General Assembly, and establishes reporting requirements. Section 30 amends the Annual Appropriations Act by removing Section 295 relating to charter school salary supplements. Section 31 amends the Annual Appropriations Act by updating 5 lines in the Section 1 for the Executive Department, and the grand total line reflecting the salary contingency needed to reflect funding for the collective bargaining agreements and step increases, the action that the committee just took in Section 25. Section 32 amends Section 74 of the Annual Appropriations Act by adding additional language to reference the amount withdrawn and the balance available of the Budget Stabilization Fund. Section 33 amends Delaware law to extend the sunset date for the historic preservation tax credit for 1 year in anticipation of the approval of tax credits in the next fiscal year that are appropriated through bond bill funding. Section 34 extends the existence of and the date of the required report from the Administrative Law Improvement Task Force to October 31st, 2020. Section 35 updates Delaware Code to ensure school stability for kids in foster care by eliminating the sunset clause so that a child in the Department of Services for Children, Youth, and their Families' custody will be entitled to enroll and attend the school identified for the next grade level in the same school district without disruption if it's in that child's best interest. Section 36 amends Delaware Code to update the statute governing the Division of Public Health data privacy restrictions and ensures that public health data can be shared without violating HIPAA, and disclosing a person's protected health information as permitted under existing federal law. And Section 37. Okay, so my apologies here for Section 37, but this relates to the purpose-built communities model, and the reason why I say my apologies is because you're also going to have it in your epilogue that was handed out to you as a separate sheet of paper. That was no longer needed. I guess I just didn't realize I did insert it into the bill this morning. So Section 37 is listed here to address the purpose-built communities model contingency.
Excuse me, Jason, I'll make sure. So you do not need an inserted page. So Section 37 is correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Go ahead.
And the last item that I have here is you have it in front of you in the bill as Section 38. However, it's my understanding there has been some changes to the epilogue language that's here. So you should have a new sheet in front of you for the Law Enforcement Accountability Task Force epilogue language. It is a 3-page document. Looks like so. If you have
Section XXX?
It'll start with Section XXX, but at the very top it will say Law Enforcement Accountability Task Force epilogue language.
I don't have that one.
Is that it? I got it.
So we would ask the committee to vote on the language that is included in the document that you have been handed out, not in the epilogue that is contained in the draft bill that's in front of you. We would ask the committee to vote for the epilogue language that you've received, the handout, not the epilogue language that's contained in the draft bill.
So, Jason,
And
we need to strike from the draft bill?
do we? Okay, so yes, we would need to strike out Section 38 that's in the draft bill. And just to make it clear to the committee, what this does is it establishes the Law Enforcement Accountability Task Force, where stakeholders will study, collect data, and make findings and recommendations to the members of the 151st General Assembly, the governor, and law enforcement agencies across the state, considering the use of force, workforce development, rights protection, transparency, and community policing.
Mr. Chairman, question.
Representative Briggs King.
I just want to, and I think I shared this before, there's some different sections in code, and some of them refer to law enforcement officers and others to police officers. This is saying police officers, but I think that the law enforcement community is much larger than police officers, and so I just want to ensure that we're not excluding an important group that perhaps should be included.
Mike, do you have a? All right. Did you hear that? Well, they've just gotten this. Our staff has just gotten this. Mike, you want to explain?
Yes. Representative Briggs King, we just got this afternoon, so if you can give us a chance, we'll run it by council overnight before the bill is introduced tomorrow to make sure that we cover the issue that you raised and make sure that we are in fact hitting all the law enforcement agencies.
Mr. Chairman, are you
I'll take a motion, and then Representative Jakes has a question. Do you want that after the motion, sir? You want that? Representative Jakes has a question. I just make sure.
Oh, no, let's get the question in, please. Sorry, Representative Jakes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for clarity for myself, I'm a little slow sometimes. Section 38 is now this 5-page handout, correct? And it takes us to the synopsis.
If it is
Correct.
5, yes.
So everything's deleted on 38 to the synopsis, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we approve Section 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37 as written and presented, and that we will be striking the Section 38 that is before us in the formal bill and inserting the new, what will become Section 38, Law Enforcement Accountability Task Force epilogue language, with the understanding that it would be simply a name, perhaps change, not a content of what it will do, what Representative Briggs King brought up. So if that is the case, they will handle that before the actual bill is presented, but it would not change the intent in a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion made and seconded before us. Are there any questions on the motion?
Just making sure that's satisfactory to Representative Briggs King.
We're watching her, trying to see.
Yeah, she's nodding yes.
It looks like a yes. All right, Lonnie, would you please call the roll?
Representative Bolden?
Yes.
Representative Bolden, yes. Representative Briggs King? Representative Briggs King, yes. Representative Carson?
Yes.
Representative Carson, yes. Senator Ennis?
Yes.
Senator Ennis, yes. Representative Hensley?
Yes.
Representative Hensley, yes. Representative Jakes?
Yes.
Representative Jakes, yes. Senator Lawson?
Yes.
Senator Lawson, yes. Senator Pardee? Yes. Senator Pardee, yes. Senator Richardson? Yes. Senator Richardson, yes. Senator Sturgeon?
Yes.
Senator Sturgeon, yes. Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative Johnson, yes. Senator McDowell?
Yes.
Senator McDowell, yes. 12 yes.
Good. Okay, Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We would like to turn our attention now to the pieces of epilogue that you were handed out before coming in today. The first one that we'll be looking at is at the top should say Department of Education unit count. And it should be 6 lines.
Everybody have a copy of that?
Department of Education unit count.
Not here.
I believe it was handed out.
We're missing some copies over here and over here. We have additional copies for the members?
What this epilogue language does is due to the postponing, or rather due to the backlog of psychological testing, it is my understanding that these are tests that need to be done in person, and they cannot be completed by the traditional unit count date. And there has been a request to extend the date from the typical September date to the November 13th, 2020 deadline that you see here.
Maybe I could ask a question, Jason, to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
This will not impede the money following the child. Is that correct?
No, it will not change. Excuse me. It will not change the allocation of funding anyway. It will still be determined on the unit count. Just the unit count will be done on a different date.
Right. Okay. But the money will get to the schools in time.
Correct. We typically send out an estimate, I believe 90% or 75% of what they're out typically entitled to in September.
Mr. Chairman?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve epilogue language section XXX under the Department of Education unit count as written and presented in the motion.
Second.
Hey, we have a motion made and seconded. Any questions on the motion? Representative Jakes.
I would like to give kudos to Senator Sturgeon, who brought this forward for us so that we make sure that we capture children in every category properly.
And I agree with that. I think that was a good catch by Senator Sturgeon, and we thank her for that. All right, I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any question on the motion? All those in favor say, no. Let's have Bonnie call the roll.
Representative Bolden?
Yes.
Representative Bolden, yes. Representative Briggs King? Representative Briggs King, yes. Representative Carson?
Yes.
Representative Carson, yes. Senator Ennis?
Yes.
Senator Ennis, yes. Representative Hensley?
Yes.
Representative Hensley, yes. Representative Jakes?
Yes.
Representative Jakes, yes. Senator Lawson?
Yes.
Senator Lawson, yes. Senator Pardee? Yes. Senator Pardee, yes. Senator Richardson? Senator Richardson, yes. Senator Sturgeon?
Yes.
Senator Sturgeon, yes. Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Senator Johnson, yes. Senator McDowell?
Yes.
Senator McDowell, yes. 12 yes.
Let the record reflect that is passed unanimously. Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next the next epilogue that we'll be reviewing at the top should say removal of revenue estimate section 31. And it should be about 21 lines. What we're doing here in this section is amending the Appropriations Act to remove reference to the DFAC revenue estimates and the clawback provisions that were inserted in that language. We are leaving in section C, and I believe that I need to make a change to lines 20 that you see there, and where it says those last four little words pursuant to subsection A, those should be deleted. So the sentence should end on supplemental appropriation on that line, and then we would also delete C that is referenced on line 16.
The entire C?
Just the letter C on 16, but leaving everything else on that sentence, or on that line, rather.
Mr. Co-Chairman?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve epilogue language section XXX, removal of revenue estimate section 31, which when it makes its entry into the finalized print of the bill will show that the letter C that was supposed to be section C on line 16 is deleted, and also on line 20, the last four words and character pursuant to subsection A will also be deleted. And a motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none? Lonnie?
Representative Bolden?
Yes.
Representative Bolden, yes. Representative Briggs King? Representative Briggs King, yes. Representative Carson?
Yes.
Representative Carson, yes. Senator Ennis?
Yes.
Senator Ennis, yes. Representative Hensley?
Yes.
Representative Hensley, yes. Representative Jakes?
Yes.
Representative Jakes, yes. Senator Lawson?
Yes.
Senator Lawson, yes. Senator Pardee?
Yes.
Senator Pardee, yes. Senator Richardson? Senator Richardson, yes. Senator Sturgeon?
Yes.
Senator Sturgeon, yes. Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative Johnson, yes. Senator McDowell?
Yes.
Senator McDowell, yes. 12 yes.
Let the record reflect that's passed unanimously. Jason? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now we will turn our attention to what says new epilogue, African American Task Force at the top. You should have, it's actually 3 pages, but it's 5 pages, but it's 3 pages front and back. Does everybody have that? So what is happening here? This is language establishing the African American Task Force to study and report to the 151st General Assembly findings and recommendations regarding the inequities within socioeconomically marginalized African American communities in this state.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve epilogue language, new section XXX, titled New Epilogue African American Task Force, as written and presented in the motion.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion?
Yes.
Representative Bolden.
You can go first. I'd like to make a statement.
Go ahead.
On June 9th of this year, the Delaware Legislative Black Caucus, consisting of 6 House representatives and 2 senators, held a press conference, and they introduced the 2020 Justice for All agenda. Recent protests have awakened the global nation to civil unrest and the call for systemic change as a result of national unity throughout the world, resulting in unfortunate death of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and a number of other persons who have suffered due to grave injustices. Epilogue language is introduced here today, as Jason explained. 1, for the African American Task Force, which will address civil unrest, systemic change from a holistic social change platform, which will be working with HBCUs, historically black colleges, as Delaware State University, leveraging knowledge and expertise under extensive research into the ongoing disparities and root causes. The Law Enforcement Accountability Task Force, which was also introduced to go into epilogue language, is to look at the use of force, civil rights protections, transparency, community policing, and more. To summarize, we have been here so many times to address the inequities and injustices of Negroes, colored, African American, black, people of color, which have endured through problems throughout history. Our caucus, the Delaware Black Caucus, has acutely laid out and addressed the Justice for All agenda, and by working with our colleagues will respond to the urgency our constituents have expressed over the past months. In the past, we have seen, observed, witnessed, changed the inequities among minority race through the Civil Rights Act of '64, the Civil War, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, Jim Crow laws, decades after Reconstruction and Congress' establishment of the Civil Rights Section of the Justice Department, along with the Commission on Civil Rights, and here in Dover, working to and ending up having a holiday which was celebrated statewide in the name of Dr. Martin Luther King. And just this past weekend, the governor allowed the state offices to be closed, and through executive order, we were able to celebrate Juneteenth, which was actually on June 19th, which was the freeing of slaves after the Emancipation Proclamation in Galveston, Texas. Today is another beginning and time as a state and country to get it right. The voices from all over the world have been heard from every race, color, and ethnic group. It is with honor and my responsibility as the only black and first female in the House of Representatives to be appointed to the Joint Finance Committee to get this introduced into epilogue language, and hope and pray that the members of this group will support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Bolden. I think I have Senator Lawson.
Yes, my question was, where did this stem from? And I'm glad to see it. I think it needs to be a study that really takes it all on the whole way around. And I think that society needs to look hard to make some changes. Thank you.
Senator Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wholeheartedly agree with this. I like to listen to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches. One of the ones I listened to recently is he said that time is neutral. You know, a lot of times the people in the black community have been promised things and they haven't been delivered. It takes deliberate action of people of good conscience to make change. I'm glad to see this is happening. I hope something positive comes out of it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just wanted to add that I'm hopeful as well as that this task force, the things that they bring to light will also impact other minority segments of our communities as well, because you know the ideas in here have transitioned from just one community and with us becoming more of one race to simply focus on another, when we certainly have the black community, we have the brown black community. We're just so diverse now, and so recommendations or suggestions that come from one task force that are specifically looking at one do not help but turn the eye to others as well. So thank you.
We have a motion made and seconded before us. Are there any further questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, I'm sorry, Lonnie, we'll have to call the roll.
Representative Bolden?
Yes.
Representative Bolden, yes. Representative Briggs King? Representative Briggs King, yes. Representative Carson?
Yes.
Representative Carson, yes. Senator Ennis?
Yes.
Senator Ennis, yes. Representative Hensley? Yes. Representative Hensley, yes. Representative Jakes?
Yes.
Representative Jakes, yes. Senator Lawson?
Yes.
Senator Lawson, yes. Senator Pardee?
Yes.
Senator Pardee, yes. Senator Richardson?
Yes.
Senator Richardson, yes. Senator Sturgeon?
Yes.
Senator Sturgeon, yes. Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative Johnson, yes. Senator McDowell?
Yes.
Senator McDowell, yes. 12 yes.
Let the record reflect that passed unanimously. Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The last item that we have before you for related to new epilogues at the top should state section XXX. The first sentence says DHS shall continue. What this epilogue language does, as was explained by Representative Johnson, continues the work on the independent study of the rate methodologies for services delivered by the divisions. If there are, I'm not sure if there are any questions or.
Need a motion? I'll make some comments too before I make the motion, just so everybody understands again the epilogue that we discussed. During our last session, there was great interest in the members here to continue work on the rate issues that our disability community, as well as our early childhood community, and then also several of the providers that are under the Medicaid section. So as directed by us, JFC, Department of Health Social Service did do a study due to the COVID issues and obviously also our budget issues. That report was delayed until just recently. However, they've been doing a great job and will continue to work with stakeholders to go over that report with them, get the information out about what that contained, and continue their work. So what this epilogue language just simply illustrates to those communities our promise as a legislative body as well as a department that we are continuing to work on it, that we have not forgotten it, and that it sets some parameters as far as what we would like to see for this body come the department's hearing in February of for the next budget 2021. Great disappointment, I know, on all of our parts, because I believe there were several of us that wish to see funding be able to increase. Clearly, the times have changed drastically for this cycle due to the pandemic, but this will continue the efforts to at least have the methodology worked out and improved. So with that, I'll make the motion and then certainly answer any questions. I make a motion that we approve section XXX dealing with the independent study of rate methodologies as presented and written in the motion.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded.
Second.
Seconded twice. I just would like to say, are there questions on the motion first? Any questions on the motion? I'd like to congratulate my co-chair here for his diligence and hard work in this subject. He has insisted that we need to find a path to become uniform in how we apply these methodologies, so that we're not just all over the lot trying to guess. And I'm hopeful that the follow-through is going to justify his effort he's put into this, and that we will indeed have a accurate, fair, and just market rate analysis. So, if there are no further questions on the motion, seeing none, please call the roll.
Representative Bolden?
Yes.
Representative Bolden, yes. Representative Briggs King? Representative Briggs King, yes. Representative Carson?
Yes.
Representative Carson, yes. Senator Ennis?
Yes.
Senator Ennis, yes. Representative Hensley?
Yes.
Representative Hensley, yes. Representative Jakes?
Yes.
Representative Jakes, yes. Senator Lawson?
Yes.
Senator Lawson, yes. Senator Pardee?
Yes.
Senator Pardee, yes. Senator Richardson? Senator Richardson, yes. Senator Sturgeon?
Yes.
Senator Sturgeon, yes. Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative Johnson, yes. Senator McDowell?
Yes.
Senator McDowell, yes. 12 yes.
Lonnie?
12 yes.
We got 12. Let the record reflect that it's passed unanimously. Okay. Jason?
All right, we have just one more item here, which is a technical adjustment. We are requesting that the committee would approve one FTE position with no dollars to the Department of Justice. That would be 15-01-01. Do you have any?
All right. Chairman, would you like to give us, Chairman, give us
I don't have a copy of it. Okay.
I make.
Yeah, I don't have a copy of what you just talked about, but give you a little background for the members of Joint Finance Committee. There was an individual that had been requested by the Department of Justice to bring up from casual seasonal to full-time. And in looking into the issue, this individual had worked there for 5 years. Most of 5 years, she actually worked full-time, 37.5 hours per week. But for whatever reason, she's still considered casual seasonal, therefore would not get state benefits. So the Department of Justice had requested about $28,000 to bring her up to full-time. And that's what the SLEP log language addresses.
I make a motion that we approve the language that was just presented and written in a motion.
Second.
question on the motion? None? Senator Lawson? Lonnie, roll.
Representative Bolden?
Yes.
Representative Bolden, yes. Representative Briggs King? Representative Briggs King, yes. Representative Carson?
Yes.
Representative Carson, yes. Senator Ennis?
Yes.
Senator Ennis, yes. Representative Hensley? Yes. Representative Hensley, yes. Representative Jakes?
Yes.
Representative Jakes, yes. Senator Lawson?
Yes.
Senator Lawson, yes. Senator Pardee?
Yes.
Senator Pardee, yes. Senator Richardson? Yes. Senator Richardson, yes. Senator Sturgeon?
Yes.
Senator Sturgeon, yes. Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative Johnson, yes. Senator McDowell?
Yes.
Senator McDowell, yes. 12 yes.
Let the record reflect that was unanimous. I believe, well, do I have one more piece of work?
We just, Mr. Chairman, we would just respectfully request that the committee make a motion to allow the Comptroller General's office to be able to make any technical adjustments to the grant and aid bill. Again, these would just be technical in nature. There would not be any changes to any dollar amounts or any content of the bill. It would just be for technical changes only.
Mr. Co-Chairman, would you turn that into a formal motion?
Yes, I make a motion that we provide the authority to the Comptroller General's office that as they are putting together the bill, if they find any typos or issues that need to be adjusted, that they have the ability to do so in a motion.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded. Might I just, while there are questions on the motion, I just want to not ask a question, but just note that this is a thing that we do every year. It's in case there's some minor glitch where a period was left out or something is obvious. So seeing no further questions on the motion, Lonnie, would you please call the roll?
Representative Bolden?
Yes.
Representative Bolden, yes. Representative Briggs King? Representative Briggs King, yes. Representative Carson?
Yes.
Representative Carson, yes. Senator Ennis?
Yes.
Senator Ennis, yes. Representative Hensley? Yes. Representative Hensley, yes. Representative Jakes?
Yes.
Representative Jakes, yes. Senator Lawson?
Yes.
Senator Lawson, yes. Senator Pardee?
Yes.
Senator Pardee, yes. Senator Richardson? Yes. Senator Richardson, yes. Senator Sturgeon?
Yes.
Senator Sturgeon, yes. Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative Johnson, yes. Senator McDowell?
Yes.
Senator McDowell, yes. 12 yes.
Let the record reflect that motion passed unanimously. Jason, are you out of ammunition?
That would conclude our presentation from the Comptroller General's office, Mr. Chairman.
I have a few comments, Mr. Chair, when you're done.
Mr. Co-Chair, I'll save mine for last.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, I just want to thank you for enduring a very difficult and challenging year. This clearly was not what we set out for when we had our initial hearings on the budget. What I do want to impress upon everybody, not only here, but listening in the public, we have a budget process that works, and we must maintain that budget process, and we must be diligent to follow that process throughout the years to come. And that process that I'm talking about is making sure that we put money in savings that we can utilize, that we take one-time funds and put them towards projects that are one-time in nature, and that we follow the index that is being provided as a guide to determine what our forthcoming spending should be on ongoing programs. All of that discipline has provided us the ability to take this very challenging situation and put Delaware in a position that clearly, as you look at the headlines across the country, other states are not in. Other states' headlines reach much different than Delaware's. Other states' headlines talk about people being laid off, pay cuts, furloughs, tremendous decrease in services that Delaware citizens will not experience and Delaware employees will not experience because of the work that this body and the legislators approved. So for that, number one, I commend you all for staying diligent. It is difficult to say no when you had to say no in the past. It's difficult to say no now. None of us like it, and we don't want, but it's the discipline that has provided this. And I cannot impress upon you enough, in the history of the budget process, we are probably by far in one of the better places we've ever been in the history of this state. That's my own personal opinion, but in looking at past items and times, again, we fared very well, and I just want to thank you all for that. And I also wouldn't be remiss if we don't sit there and recognize that this now is the final aspect of our illustrious chair, Senator Harris McDowell. I am extremely honored to have been able to be your co-chair and to be sitting beside you, especially through your last few years here, sir. The honor truly has been mine, and thank you very much for your service and your years here. It truly was, in fact, a lifetime. Thank you for your work.
Senator, real quick, I'll call you Senator for now, but I usually call you Harris. Small token of appreciation from the Joint Finance Committee members and my staff and everybody I believe. We'll call this the last dance for you, the last budget. It's been 10 years since I've known you on the JFC committee. Loved every minute. I was at a lot of highs and lows, but
this?
That would be the title page from the budget just introduced. Your last budget. You can frame that with all the other papers you have in your dining room.
All members and all staff.
Yes, correct.
I don't think I could have had a better committee. We were tested this year. We were tested pretty well. We woke up one morning. We left here in end of January thinking we're swimming in budget capacity, and woke up one morning and 547 million or something like that. It disappeared damn near overnight. And that was frightening, and then it got worse. But everybody here got to work, and we decided we really wanted to do a just and fair, balanced budget. And just and fair, we described that everybody would be in the same boat, and we would make sure that nobody lost something they already had, and that we would not have to raise taxes if we haven't balanced budget. So we went to work on that basis. There were many times when I thought, well, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make that standard. We set for ourselves. And all of you worked hard, staff particularly. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for all the work that you do to make our work so much easier. A couple of other things. I want to tell you about something that I don't normally read the financial news in New York, but there are some publications up there that were pointed out to me when, I think it was about 10 or 12 days ago, the state went up to get it to check, see about getting its bond rating continued, and they gave Delaware the continuing AAA rating. But the financial papers cited you guys. They cited you and our staff for being good budgeteers. That's the New York financial community. That's a bunch of cutthroats up there that were citing us as doing a great job. And I couldn't say it better. I appreciate the work we've done. I will say one last thing. Beware, we're not done. And what I mean by that, when we started this year with the assistance of Mike Jackson and his excellent team, Mike Morton and his, we set about to build a bridge to 2022. Because when you look at the big picture, you can see we're in a bit of upheaval now. It's not going to get probably cured totally next year. And the year that could be the really big challenge is 2020. So we have to continue to build for that. One of the things that makes me, Quinn, and Mike nervous, we have to get a fair and balanced budget this year in the final analysis. We had to fight into our reserves. And for a $4.7, $4.5 billion budget, our reserves are what they are. They're reserves, but they're not much. So we have to be careful moving on. You have to. I'll be here with you in heart and mind, but you won't see me looking in the back door. So, again, thank you. Thank you for the wonderful year. Thank you on behalf of the people of the state of Delaware for the great job you did. So we have any other comments? Any made? Or, well, I better entertain a motion.
So move we adjourn, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion Anybody want to debate that? No. Motion passed unanimously.
All right.